Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good, man. I'm doing well. It's a little early here on the West Coast, but it's all good.
What time is it right now?
It is 9:59. It's going to be 10 a.m. and my typical hours are 11 a.m. until 7 p.m. Some people do 9 to 5. I do 11 to 7. It's kind of a Latin thing. I'm from Buenos Aires, Argentina, South America originally.
Oh,
So
fair enough. I mean, that those sort of hours would personally suit me much better than 9 to 5. So I'm with you on that.
absolutely. Now, do you prefer Ali or Alex Dean?
Ali. We'll
Ali.
go with
Okay.
Ali. It's
Cool, man.
interchangeable depending on how well you know me.
I
But
can I can dig that.
Alex is reserved for my mum.
My biological is Francisco Javier Oliveira, and thus Javier shortened as Jave, and I get Dave and Jane and James and Jay and all types of different stuff. So
So should we stick with Jave?
Jave is cool.
Nice to meet you, Jave.
Likewise, good to meet you too. First of all, I'm a bass player. I'm curious. Top five bassists of all time. Who would you pick?
God, that's a heavy one
I
right off
know
the bat.
that's a tough one.
Um, okay, we'll start with Justin Chancellor from Tool.
Okay,
Um, just he's
great
like the
choice.
lead guitar player in that band almost.
No doubt. Yeah,
The musical. Um, Let me think. God, I haven't thought about this for a little while, you know.
yeah.
Um, there's a band from the UK called Sixth. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're like a technical metal band.
I'm not, but okay.
Like
What's the name of the bassist? Do you know?
the bassist is he's a friend of mine, James Leach.
James Leach. Okay.
He's absolutely absurd at bass. And we used to tour with them quite a lot back when the band was starting out. So he was always a real influence on me, being like he would just be playing with the band, and I'd be looking at him thinking, God, I've got to get better because
Yeah.
what I'm doing right now is child's play. I'm gonna drop another friend in there, my friend V Man, who is primarily I'd say a guitar player, but he started playing bass in Slipknot.
Okay.
Um, and I'm just gonna put him in there because it's funny because it's a name drop, and he plays bass for Slipknot, and that's it's just so insane to me.
They're a cool
Um,
band.
they're a great band, and he's like such an insane musician. So I'm gonna go with him. Um, God, I haven't thought about this in so long.
Are you a John Mayung fan from Dream Theater?
I'm no, I'm not going to pretend I am.
All right. No worries.
That's a world that's a world of music that I'm not massive on. So
Okay.
uh, I'm not going to pretend that I'm into that. Liam Wilson from the Dillinger Escape Plan was always a really big influence in my
Yeah.
formative years as a bass player as well. Because
Hmm.
I mean, you've got to have some real ability to keep up with that kind of band. Um, last one. The last one's gonna just come to me in a second, and I'm gonna give it to you as soon as it appears. But for
No
right
worries.
now,
No worries.
well,
Let's continue on. Congrats on for those about to exist. Your ninth studio album, and again, condolences on the loss of your co-founder Tom Surley.
so
Searle. Okay.
yeah.
What was it like working on an album without his input? And I know it's been several years since he passed away of skin cancer, but did something change with this new album for those who wish to exist?
We actually so the record we did before this, Holy Hell, he was not around for, but he had like a significant amount of contributions to that record because he had when we had finished the album before that, he had started working on new material. So he had like I guess you call it a stockpile of Tom's work to kind of include in the album. But this time we didn't have any of Tom's stuff, so it felt really like starting fresh. But the way things have changed is like Tom was obviously like the main songwriter of the band, so it wasn't just losing like a very talented musician. It was actually kind of the guy who had like the creative direction in the band. So in the absence of him, his brother Dan, his twin brother Dan, who plays drums for us, has kind of stepped up into that position and is just so good at it. He's so driven and kind of he thinks in a similar way to Tom with songwriting, I think. So I think he was able to kind of carry through the sound of the band without it being too jarring from
Right.
having someone else writing it. And we also had I was about to say our new guitar player, he's been in the band for ages, but Josh, who came to replace Tom, he's a very, very great songwriter as well, and a great musician. So we had, although we had lost someone super important in the band, we still had two people that were very creatively driven and very talented with it. So there's never been like a lack of ideas, so to speak. It took a little while to like figure out the new dynamic. And I feel like we're now in like the five of us are in a really good spot with like everyone knowing what their role is and everyone feeling comfortable expressing ideas and opinions on songwriting. But it did take a little while to adjust to that. There was a little while where it just felt like we just have to make an album and see what happens. And it felt like there was so much pressure on it because we were missing such a fundamental part of the band, you know?
Yeah, and it seems like a lot of bands, certainly pre-pandemic, they jump in a room and hash out a bunch of ideas, and different people would bring different things in. Is that how you guys have always approached songwriting, or has it always been somebody will come up with the basis for an entire song, and then you come in and just kind of, soften the edges a little bit, or try and, okay, this is the chorus, let's make it this short instead of this long, or how does it work in your world?
Yeah. I mean, so like I was saying, like Dan and Josh are probably, well, they're not probably, they are the sort of principal songwriters of the band. So they will both make like full length demos
Hmm.
typically and share them with each other and share them with the rest of us. And we'll all say what we like and what we maybe don't like about the work. And then if there's ideas that we want to put into it, we'll do that. And it basically bounces backwards and forwards over Dropbox for a few weeks and
Wow.
then sometimes months. It's just the modern way of writing music, I think, because I feel like younger bands have that's all they've known. Whereas for us, it's been like there was a time where we all got in a room together and like you try and remember what was written in the previous week, and it's all like it's a very different workflow. But now you can be sent a chorus and say, okay, I don't like that note change, and
Yeah.
you can hear it with a different chord progression in 5 minutes. Like it just makes group songwriting so accessible. Um, but we've got a pretty good workflow with that now, and like everyone feels like they can interject with ideas and opinions.
Right.
And we have the two of them are both extremely competent with recording software, so it's the quality of the demos ends up being amazing. But then you go and record them, and you kind of put the finishing touches on it.
Yeah. That's cool. It seems like the metalcore as a genre has really, really morphed and changed quite substantially over the span of the last 10 years. Of course, you guys have done a lot of touring with Bring Me the Horizon, whose style has morphed and changed dramatically over time. How has that affected what you guys do in Architects as far as songwriting is concerned and the evolution of that sound to maybe make it a bit more broad appeal?
I'd say that the way our songwriting has evolved is I feel like after a certain amount of time of being in a band, you stop drawing influences from other bands so much, and you focus more on like refining what it is that you do well, rather than thinking like, oh, we should do a bit that sounds like this band, or like taking specific riffs for inspiration, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And more just like focusing on what like the core sound of the band is and developing that, and like not looking around you for inspiration maybe, but like looking backwards, or like looking into different genres, or like looking at like different art forms. Like I remember a few years ago we started like watching quite a lot of Christopher Nolan films, and Hans Zimmer does all the scores for those films, and we were all like, the films are great, but the soundtrack is insane.
Yeah.
Like how can we draw that in, and we've kind of built on the sort of symphonic sound of that for our band, and we've been doing that for a couple of years, but now we're kind of more interested in the electronic side of writing and all the possibilities that offers. And from playing around with it for the past couple of years, it feels like a whole new world for us to write in, and we all really enjoy doing it, because you can only sit on the same style of song for a couple of albums, and then it just starts becoming repetitive. And not only does that become boring for the people that are listening to the music, but it becomes uninspiring to play it. So
Absolutely. And
it's important to evolve.
Ali, you've done a bit of pad work and keyboard work as well, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
that been doing that for a couple of years. Like I don't like write a lot of material with keys or anything, but I perform like what we can perform live. And basically we when we have new songs like and we're adding them to the set, we're like, right, what elements of this song can we physically play? And we do as much of it as possible. And then there's some stuff that we'll never be able to pull off live. Like it'd be very ambitious to take like a full string section on tour for a whole tour. Like it would
Yeah,
never
no
work.
doubt.
But there's
Speaking of which, man, how cool was it working with an orchestra on Abbey Road Studios with Animals? I mean, the end result was killer, but was that a big challenge for you guys to get the orchestra involved and have everything in sync like that, or did it just work like clockwork?
To be honest, like the five of us just rolled up and did our thing, and then all of the infinitely more talented musicians that were playing opposite us just smashed it. And the woman that arranged all of the music for that, I forget her surname, Rosie, just absolutely smashed it. And like we kind of were quite confident to leave them to it and let them have their contribution and not try and interfere too much, because again, it's a totally different world. Um, but yeah, we were so blown away with how that turned out, because it really felt like, okay, we'll do our bit, they do our bit, and almost it felt difficult to feel responsible for the end product because it had so many other people involved in it.
Hmm.
But we've worked quite a lot of string sections in the past, and the feeling I'm always left with is, God, I need to go and practice more, because these guys are just so good.
The end result sounded so cohesive. I mean, it really it's very, very impressive. Speaking of the song Animals, it's been a huge hit for you, so certainly here in the U.S. Was this track written pre-pandemic, or was it written with specific relevance to the current social culture that exists here in the pandemic world?
That was pre-pandemic.
No
So we
kidding.
were
Okay.
in, it was written in January last year. So it was close to the pandemic, but it was um, four of us were in Bali in Indonesia, and we had kind of allocated 3 or 4 weeks to work on the record over there. And Josh was at home because he had a young daughter that he needed to be at home for to help look after. And he sent over the demo for that, and like Dan worked on it for a little bit, and then it was amazing how quickly the song came together, because we sort of sat around the following day and like worked on the vocals and that. And usually there's quite a lot of back and forth with our songwriting, and it'll go through a number of phases,
Yeah.
and lots of like the first like sort of complete demo that is kind of established, it'll always end up sounding nothing like that. But Animals really didn't change that much. It came really naturally. And for a song that we all felt so strongly about, like this is the lead single, like it's
Yeah.
so unusual for a song to just appear like that. So
And
it was
it's interesting you say that, because I've heard that similar story with a lot of bands' biggest songs. You know, Corey Taylor has talked a lot about in Slipknot and Stone Sour how he'll wake up in the morning and the song will already be in his head and he just has to get it out. David Bowie once said that you know, when he did the song Let's Dance, he just woke up and he was like, "Oh my God, I just wrote a pop hit," and did it, and it just came together so simply like that, right? Isn't that strange?
Yeah, I feel a little bit unqualified to like really comment on that kind of stuff, because like I'm not a songwriter,
Yeah.
and but I feel like that there are a lot of instances where it's just channeling something, and you're just the person that's kind of receiving it and articulating it for the world, kind of thing. But yeah, I think also a lot of it comes down to like just showing up every day, and like a lot of the time accepting that what you're creating might be crap.
Yeah.
And the whole point of it is you keep going, because something good will just come to you somehow, and you'll think, how did I come up with that?
Yeah. You know, the band, certainly from a lyrical perspective, in the past has been a bit politically engaged, although not quite as present as much these days. But I'm always curious to try and understand the optics that the United States has around the rest of the world. In your personal opinion, and you can answer this or not. It's totally up to you. What was the UK view of the Trump presidency, and what are the optics for the Biden administration so far? Do you care to comment even on that? I mean, I'm just curious as to how other people view us crazy people here in the States.
Yeah, I'm not going to go too much into it because again, like I haven't read up enough on it, and I think there's a real issue with people throwing very like strong opinions at stuff that they don't properly understand.
Sure.
Um, the biggest case in point on our side of the Atlantic is Brexit, because everyone voted so strongly against it or for it, and I feel like a lot of people just didn't have a proper understanding of what the implications were going to be, because we're now seeing, or when it did go through and it happened, there were all these things that were happening because everyone had voted for Brexit and we'd left the EU, and people were shocked by the repercussions of that. And so well, a lot of people voted for this. Like, did you know what you were signing up for, kind of thing? So I'm getting off course a little bit here, but yeah, I mean the Trump presidency seemed as crazy to us as it did to probably a lot of liberal folks
Yeah.
in the US. Yeah, just completely mad, really. But I feel like, if I'm completely honest, I've checked out a little bit from following political news 24/7, because I've like times are hard enough, kind of thing.
Yeah, no doubt. I hear you.
But with Biden, I don't know. Feels like not a great deal has changed. I don't know. Like, what's your take on it?
I think only time will tell. You know, I think the biggest disappointment was how the decorum of the presidency was just completely demolished with Donald Trump. I think there's a lot of stuff that Donald did that, frankly, had some positive yields, right? Um,
Sure.
but just the lack of decorum. And I'm not one of these guys who's going to say I voted for Biden because he doesn't do the mean tweets. Um,
Mm.
but the lack of decorum was really shocking to me for the highest office in the land. Anyways, hey, I noticed some kind of cool artwork in the back. Are you an art collector at all? Is this your home that we're in?
Not a collector.
Okay.
I have a few pieces. The thing you're looking at that's a print by one of my favorite bands called Cult of Luna, who
Okay.
are a really miserable Swedish post-rock band. But
Miserable. What a
then,
great descriptor.
oh, they're amazing. They're
Yeah.
so good. But then, like, I have a couple of bits from Dan Hillier, who did the artwork from our last record. Big fan of his work. But
Yeah.
then a couple of other. Do you know the band Converge?
Not very.
It's a hardcore band from sort of Boston area. Their singer Jake does some really cool prints. I've got a couple of his. And on that note, my fifth favorite bass player is the bass player of Converge, Nate Newton.
Okay,
He's
Nate. All right, we'll make a note of that one, and people can go
total
check it
shredder.
out. Hey,
Yeah.
what would your career look like if music wasn't a part of it? I mean, what did you always dream of doing music for a living as a kid, or were you thinking about, I could be an interior designer? I mean, I like the paint tones you have back there.
I appreciate that. Hard to know, really, because I've been in the band since I was 17.
Wow.
And I feel like for a lot of people, that's when you're starting to figure out what it is that you want to do with your life,
Hmm.
or you force yourself to try and figure it out. Um, but yeah, I didn't really have much in the way of direction of like, I think the four of us in the band at the time, myself, Tom and Dan, and our singer Sam, were so committed to making the band work. And there were times where it didn't look like it was going for a little bit. And rather than fold, we were just like, no, we keep going, and we just keep grinding it out. So I feel like there was probably something quite intense in all four of us that really felt like, no, we're going to be musicians. We're going to make this work.
Yeah.
And apart from that, like when I was like a lot younger, wanted to play football, not good enough at it. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that I didn't try and follow that path.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a strange one to think about, because it's obviously like when you have your entire way of life taken away from you, like every musician and a lot of other people have had in the past year and a half or whatever, you kind of think, oh, what else do I do, kind of thing. And I feel like as a result of that, I've thought about like what other career paths there might be, because I don't know how long this was going to be off the table for. Doing some counselling, doing some mental health work, because
Yeah.
that feels like such a big issue in at least the UK right now. Like a lot of people are really struggling, and I feel like that kind of work could be super fulfilling. But
I feel like that's my job responsibility. Number one, working in a radio station and having to manage a bunch of crazy talented people on the radio. You have to
yeah,
be first a psychologist and then like a music and a music guy secondarily. Um,
yeah.
Man, Ali, it's so great to be able to catch up with you and speak with you, man. What are the tour plans for North America? Do you have anything in 2021, or do you foresee not getting back stateside until maybe 2022?
I don't know. I have no idea right now.
Well,
Like the feeling in the camp is like it will be with any touring musician right now, is like everyone just wants to get out and play shows as soon as possible, but there's so many factors involved, and um as soon as we can and as soon as the time is right, we'll be making it happen. But we have a couple of shows booked in the UK in end of July and August,
yeah, I
and
noticed that on the website.
hopefully they'll happen. Like it still feels like you have to reserve some apprehension to this stuff, because life is super unpredictable at the moment,
Yeah.
and the desire is like entirely there for us. Like we can't wait to get back on tour primarily, and also can't wait to get back to America, because
Yeah.
it's become somewhere that we really enjoy touring.
I could see maybe an Architects and Don Bracco tour of the U.S. in 2022. I think that would be
Wow,
killer. I love those
that
guys.
would be your lineup.
That would be a hell of a lineup. Hey, man, again, so great to talk to you, Ali. The album is for those who wish for those who wish to exist. Yes,
That wish to exist.
that wish to exist. Right. Man, it's
That's
interesting.
a
Like I
common.
said, I'm only one cup of coffee in so far. It's available wherever you steal music. And congratulations again on Animals. Can't wait to see you guys here stateside. It'll happen eventually. We're opening back up, man. So as soon as you guys are ready to come on over, we got a barbecue waiting for you.
Can't wait. Thank you, Jave.
All right. Take care, brother. See you, man.
Take care. Bye.